Okay, so let's have a look at styling your brand and making sure that our styling matches the story that we intend to tell. Okay, so now that we've learned some of the basics about lighting, the camera, compositional elements, it's time to start thinking how we can actually deploy those skills to create an image. So much in the way that earlier on I talked about how lighting is a tool for narrative, and we want to convey a certain sense of emotion with our lighting. We want to do that again with all of our propping and our styling. So let's just have a quick think about what propping and styling looks like. So if I'm doing some product photography, for example, it could be literally anything. That's kind of the nature of it. But say we're doing some photography for a new journal, and that journal is used for work. People write just to keep on top of their daily tasks. So what some of the photography that we might be doing is showing that in situ, a lifestyle image. And perhaps that lifestyle image is going to show our new journal on a desk. So when I'm thinking about propping and styling, I'm thinking, okay, what are all the appropriate things that add up that story? We've got the desk, maybe I've got a little plant there, maybe I've got headphones, my laptop, all these sorts of elements. They all come together to inform the environment. Now, what's important isn't just that we have these aspects that create a certain environment, but that the environment that we create is representative of the brand that we're trying to communicate. So we know what we want in terms of the actual props, but what about the specifics of those props? So we've got our journal, our planner on the table, and we know that we might want a laptop, headphones, etc. What style of those products do we want? Because if they're not consistent, it's going to add a lot of noise and confusion to our image and make the story that we're trying to tell confused, and therefore our brand seem confused. So the first thing that informs it is the mood that we're looking to create within the imagery. So is it a fun, playful, exciting, kind of cheeky brand? Or is it very clean, very minimal, very green? And obviously, if we need the props to align with that vision. So say we've got a very clean, natural, authentic, organic mood that we're trying to create because that's reflective of the actual book itself. We're probably going to have a real wood tabletop surface, and maybe we're going to have some rustic style pens or an actual terracotta plant pot for the plant that we have on our desk. The next thing we need to consider is the target audience. Obviously, we know if the target audience is a sort of young Gen Z or Gen Z, it's English in me, audience, we're going to make sure that the things on the table in our scene are reflective of things that they would have themselves, things that they're interested in. So where someone over the age of maybe 40, 50 might have quite an expensive Parker pen or something of that nature, that's not really something like a Gen Z or whatever you want to call them. Someone under the age of like 25 is going to spend their money on. They're more likely to have something like, say, the latest iPhone, Apple AirPods, things like that. And then finally, just like, what are the actual values of our brand? Are we kind of opulent? Are we sustainable? Are we quite simple? Are we wellness focused? Ideally, we want to get props. Ideally, the props and the styling again in this image are going to align with our values. So we want to choose props that align with our brand. Now, a lot of that in the end does just come down to intuition and common sense. If I'm looking at the chocolate brand that I started to create earlier on, I know that it's for women, primarily for women. It's luxurious, it's expensive. I'm just going to be looking for props, styling in an environment that's reflective of that. Now, if this is an area of photography that you struggle with in particular, one of the things you could do is look at design journals or Pinterest boards and start to try and collate a mood. Or alternatively, you can actually work with a stylist or a home economist who specializes in styling a set.